Hey, welcome you guys. Today we're gonna make a fake slice of lemon meringue pie. And this will go perfectly with the lemonade that we made last week. So if you didn't see that one, be sure to check out that video. I'll link to it in the description for you. I'm gonna try to conserve the products that I'm using for the actual pie part, because if I layer it up and make it the thickness that it needs to be, it's going to be a lot of product. So I'm going to use these foam discs from Dollar Tree to make the structure of it and then just put everything on. Now I'm going to start out by gluing 3 of these together, but I don't want to glue like around the edge because I'm going to need to cut my shape into these, and where the glue is going to be harder to cut. So I'm just going to put like a little bit in the center part, and then that should be enough to get things to stick. Try to make sure that one side is pretty nice and flush. A lot of times these aren't exactly the same size, and so just make sure this will be the back side where the crust is. So just try to get that part even, and then don't worry about the rest of it being even. And then I'm just going to take a knife and I'm going to cut into the foam and make it into a triangle shape. You could also draw this out with a pen or pencil first if you want to make sure you get the shape right. So now I'm going to roll out my crust. I'm going to use foam clay for this part. So I want to get kind of a base color for my crust. So I'm going to put just a drop of territorial beige and then a drop of yellow, and then just mix that into your clay. And now we'll just roll this out to the thickness that you want your crust to be. Now I'm going to set my styrofoam onto my clay. So what I want to do is make sure that I have enough in the back that I can pull it up and make my crust for the back side here. So I'm just going to put this all the way to the edge, and then I want to leave a little bit on the sides too, so that I can cut it a little bit larger on the sides. So just kind of press it up against the back side there. And so I'm going to take my clay blade and I'm just going to cut. I just want to leave a little bit of space here. I'm cutting this a little bit bigger so that when I put my lemon and my meringue, it'll go to the edge of the crust. And then I'm just going to mark right here where I want to cut. And I'm just fixing up this very tip part so that it looks more pointed than like squared off. Okay, so now we want to bend back this edge crust. And then you can make this whatever kind of design you want. If you want to like press a fork into there, or if you want to pinch it. I'm just going to pinch mine. Okay, so now let's do some shading on this crust so that it looks like it's cooked. So I'm going to mix up my usual baked color, which is territorial beige. I'm just going to do 1 drop of each of these. I don't need a whole bunch to do 1 slice. 1 drop of yellow, and then 1 drop of harvest orange. And then just mix those together. And then we're going to get a bunch of the paint out of our brush because we want it to be pretty dry so that we can just lightly brush this on. So for the bottom part, you don't necessarily want to do the whole crust. You kind of want to do like just along the edge, because the part toward the inside of the pie would not necessarily be brown. And then if you want, you can do the underside. And then we want to do the side of it. Okay, so now we need to make our lemon curd that goes in here. So I'm just using a little disposable cup. So I'm going to use my 100% silicone. Make sure you have a clear one. And I'm going to put some of that into my cup. You want to make sure you have enough to go around the whole bottom of the pie. And you're probably going to want to be able to put it up about halfway or a little bit higher than that. And then I'm going to color this with my alcohol ink. So I have a lemon yellow one in mine, so I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to use my white alcohol ink. Because the lemon curd has like a little bit of cloudiness to it, but it's mostly see-through. So I'll just start out by adding 1 drop of each, and then I'll mix it and see how that looks. It's always best to start with less, and you can always add more. You can't take it out. Okay, so that's what mine looks like. You can even go brighter than this if you want. I used about 15 drops of my yellow and about 4 drops of white to get this color. So now I'm going to start to put this on to my styrofoam, just using my popsicle stick. And like I said, you only want it to go probably about halfway up at the most. Usually these have a lot of meringue on them, so you want to leave plenty of room for that. Just make sure you have enough thickness that you can't see any styrofoam through it or anything like that. You want to make sure it looks real. And now we're going to put the meringue on. So for the meringue, I'm going to use my lightweight spackling. So the one I have here is really nice and white. If yours is not white, you can add some white paint to it. And if it's too dry, you can also add some water. You want it to be like a whipped cream or meringue consistency. So if it's not that, like if you're using the Dollar Tree one, you're probably going to have to add some paint and water to it because that stuff is very dry usually and has a gray tint to it. So I'm just going to put this on here. And then I'm going to take a little spatula, and you can use a plastic knife too to do this. So you want to get this onto the sides. Now don't worry about what the texture is just yet. We'll take care of that in a little bit. Just get it in place and then we'll go from there. All right, so on the sides, we want it to be pretty smooth. So we don't want it to look like frosting like this, like how I've got it smoothed out like that. I'm going to take some paper towel and give it some texture, but I don't want a bunch of creases in it. So I just want to lightly put it on there and press, but still keep this smoothness. And then for the top, we want some like peaks. So what I'm going to do is take my spoon and just kind of press it in and pull it up, and that'll give kind of that peaked look. Then another thing I'm going to do is take my toothpick on the side and just kind of make some little holes. Again, to give it that kind of airy look. And then if you want to smooth it down some, just tap it with your finger, because you don't want a bunch of spiky spots. You just want it to have holes, like airy looking. Okay, so now we need to let this dry overnight so that we can shade the meringue. Okay, so my spackling on the top here is dry to the touch. It's probably still wet underneath, but it's dry enough that I can shade on top of it. So I'm going to use the same color that we used for the pie crust to start here. And what I'm going to do is just lightly brush over these peaks on the top of the meringue. Because typically when you make this, you go over it with a torch, and so it gets that kind of toasty look on the top, kind of like a toasted marshmallow would have. Okay, so now I'm just going to go in with a little bit of melted chocolate and just hit the tops of those, like the very tops of these, where it would get like a little more dark. You could also use burnt umber for this as well, depending how dark you want them to be. And then that's it. Your lemon meringue pie is finished. If you guys haven't watched the lemonade video, be sure to go watch that now. I'll have that here on the end screen for you. And be sure to subscribe. I'm going to be doing lots more fun lemon and different summer themed videos coming up soon. So be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have an awesome day.